With Sony now wanting to invest more money into their multiplayer shooters, would Socom be the game slash franchise to bring back to the console? Personal opinion, yes. I think that'd be something that would really make a splash in the gaming scene as long as they made it correctly. But that's something we haven't seen since the PlayStation 3 days with Socom 4. So bringing either a reboot of the franchise or just bringing in a general like Socom 5, I think would be a fantastic thing for PlayStation right now. So again, like I said, it's an interesting article from GamesRadar.com, and it says how a new Socom game for the PS5 could restore the series to its former glory. The article is written by Leon Hurley, and it says Socom PS5. As Sony invests in multiplayer games, bringing PlayStation's original flagship shooter back just makes sense. Could a Socom PS5 game really happen? The return of the iconic franchise has long has been rumored, with fans eager to jump back into the exciting mix of tactical third-person movement and brutally unforgiving combat. With Sony making a strong push in the live service multiplayer arena, and with the renewed popularity of survival-leaning military shooters, there's never been a better time for Socom US Navy SEALs to make a return. And if that doesn't work, there's always the potential for a Socom PSVR 2 game, given that the PS5 is about to go big on PSVR 2 in the coming years. And that would probably bring a great opportunity for that like gun emulator thing they had on the PlayStation 5. It wasn't, obvious, or on the PlayStation 3. It wasn't obviously VR, but you had the little Joy-Cons you put on the controller and you kind of controlled the game that way. So I'm wondering if they can bring something back, if they wanted to bring it back in a VR setting, if they'd bring a tool like that back. It says it's been a long time coming too. One reason fans are so eager to see Socom PS5 game is that it's been 11 years since the release of Zipper Interactive Socom 4. There's nothing quite like this series on console, and the series' legendary PlayStation owners who are willing to go through the hassle of getting their PS2s online back in the day. So let's look at the Socom 5 PS5 rumor and dig into why we think the series should return in 2022. So it starts with the rumor, and it's showing a tweet here that I'll put on the screen for you guys, and it says, originally from Tidex, it said PlayStation are talking internally about bringing back Socom series, looking for the right, it says devastated, but I'm assuming they meant developer to do it. Nothing is set in stone. And then they quoted it again, and this was back in November 14th, 2019. Yeah, Guerrilla Games' second team is supposed to be developing multiplayer Socom game, #PS5. Take that with a grain of salt. It's just a little rumor we've got here. It says it's been over a decade since the last Socom game landed in our hands, and the rumor mill hasn't stopped churning. Since back in 2019, insiders suggested that Killzone developer Guerrilla Games was working on a multiplayer-focused Socom revival, although we haven't heard anything about the project since. So could Guerrilla have a second team working on a Socom PS5 game? Alongside the work completed for Horizon Forbidden West, it is difficult to say. However, 2 years ago, Rainbow Six Siege director Simon LaRouche joined the studio as well as a Siege designer, Chris Lee, who also worked on Socom. Rainbow Six Siege and Socom share a lot of DNA as a stern online team shooter with no respawns. So while it's not a confirmation, it's hard to imagine PlayStation using that expertise to make a game that didn't have a whiff of its old franchise around it. Sony has recently shifted its focus internally. While the company is known for building cinematic third-person action-adventure games, it has been noted that the PlayStation Studios Group wants to get 11 live service multiplayer games out on PS5 in the next 3 years, with 2 set to release in 2022. Socom would be the perfect candidate for Sony's renewed interest in multiplayer shooters, and here's why. If things like God of War and the Resident Evil 2 remake have taught us anything, it's that gamers love a familiar face. Publishers love them too, because the existing brand awareness makes it a lot less riskier than trying to win people over with a new name. It's a game that's been away in a while, but never fails to see rumors or its return answered in interest and excitement. There's a clear demand, and PlayStation would be stupid not to think about cashing in on it. Socom was a multiplayer game ahead of its time. While the original Socom games had a basic single-player mission, it really was all about the multiplayer. Even though when it originally arrived on the PS2 in 2002, it landed on a console that didn't even have an internet connection. You had to buy a separate network adapter to be able to plug into a dial-up modem. Even so, it collected a legion of fans that still want to return, and stockpiled buzz over the years it would make a comeback a welcome return. Games as service shooters are perfect home for a new Socom. Socom was one of those games that was held back by its campaign. It was okay, but the real draw has always been the testing the multiplayer. Trouble is, for most Socom's life, online only games weren't really a thing on console. Now, however, the market has shifted. Games like Rainbow Six Siege and Overwatch, along with Fortnite and all the other battle royales, have created a big online business that would be perfect for SOCOM to do what it does best. And then it says Rainbow Six Siege proves there's a market for tough team-based shooters. And we see that a lot with competitive games too. Now, like a Call of Duty isn't, the most tactically driven, but people love competition. And I think that's where they can really draw people in with this, especially, Gears of War having its own esport, like a third-person tactical shooter like that. A long-time console multiplayer tended to always be team deathmatches fueled by occasional objectives and endless respawns. The success of Siege, however, has shown you that you can make a ruthless, dead means dead shooter that is both a critical and commercial success. Rainbow Six's take is basically a spiritual successor to SOCOM, as well as its more realistic take on military action and gunplay, the odd outlandish gadget and character notwithstanding. And then it says esports industry would lap it up. SOCOM is all about tension and last-second clutches. It's a series with a traditionally rock-bottom time to kill. In many games, the first and only gunshot you hear would be the one that sent you back to the lobby to spectate the rest of the match. Games could last a few explosive sounds or draw out into antagonizing minutes as teams whittled away at each other's numbers until only a few survivors remain. The last few players creeping cautiously around corners and jumping at the slightest noise is a perfect entertainment. So that's all they're discussing here about the new SOCOM, like what it could be as far as how they're going to take a game that came out, originally from like the 2002 era, how they're going to take that concept and tap into today's market. But I feel like SOCOM, for what it was at its time, being a tactical third-person shooter with a heavy multiplayer interest, could really peak in this day and age, given the risk reward with the game and how easy it is to be kicked out of that lobby from, like they said, one gunshot later and you're out. The same way kind of Siege does, a head tap, you're out, and people thrive on competition nowadays. Now, there really isn't a third-person tactical shooter on the market for competitive shooters besides, I'd say, Gears of War, but even that esports dying out a little bit. So bringing something new and refreshing, and also a PlayStation title back to the esports industry would be huge, because you see it a lot of the times now. A lot of the esports, I think, besides Gears, and they're probably on PC, like everything's moved over to PC. So maybe just PlayStation using this as an IP to tap into an esport would be really cool. I would love to see SOCOM get remade, because I was so young when it came out, so you didn't get to really experience it. I did like the campaigns; they were always so fun. They were a little bit more challenging for someone who doesn't understand exactly what SOCOM is. But again, it also sounds like they have a great team behind it, with people from Guerrilla Games, maybe having that secondary team, but also people from the creators of Rainbow Six Siege, which is highly, one of the most popular shooters right now on the market and in the esports industry. So I want to know what you guys think down below. Would you like to see SOCOM get a revival? Is it something you feel is dead in the water after SOCOM 4? Because I know that was like the lowest received game. Would you prefer it to be a PSVR 2 game, or would you prefer it to be, take on the haptic feedbacks and, play the third-person tactical game like it's supposed to be played? I think I would prefer just the third-person tactical, because I'm not a big VR person anyway. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to see this is popping back up in the news again, and I hope you guys are too. If you guys did enjoy the video, please be sure to smash the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing if you guys are new to the channel and want to stay up to date on all the latest gaming news we cover here, as well as just turn on the notification bell so you guys never miss videos like this. As always, my name is Ross, and I will see you guys in the next video.